here with Kevin Bronson, CO for New Hampshire Fish and Game, and we're going to talk a little bit tonight about the upcoming deer season. So Kevin, thanks for being here. This is one of Jesse Scott's favorite places.
Yep.
The legendary Jesse Scott he probably slept in this thing.
Yeah, I bet,
so, So it's a pretty neat spot. We won't talk about where it is because we're not supposed to.
Yeah. Jesse Scott's stories still live on.
Oh, he's just the greatest. I read his book.
Yeah.
It was the most fascinating thing I've heard or read in a long time.
And that's what you hope as a game warden, is that your stories are going to live on.
Yes.
And he's 3 game wardens since he was here. Mm-hmm. And I still hear Jesse Scott stories. Yeah.
He was quite the character. Clayton Phillips was too.
Yeah.
So how long have you been a CO with Fish and Game?
So I've been with the department for 9 years. This is my 9th year. Yep.
And where did you start?
I started on the seacoast. I worked Exeter, Newfields, Newmarket. Very different job than up this way in a lot of respects. And then I worked Sullivan County for most of my career, and then just recently took a promotion and ended up being transferred to the Hopkinton, Warner, Ware, over that way. Yep.
Yeah, so you got to watch out. What's the guy on the radio? The new guy on the
Peter
radio.
St. James?
Peter?
Oh, yeah. I know
Watch
Peter.
out for him. I listen to you every morning, Peter. So, all right. So what drew you into being law enforcement?
I wouldn't say I got drawn in necessarily law enforcement. I got drawn into the game warden aspect of being a hunter and a fisherman. Mm-hmm. So my dad and I were out in the woods since I can remember. I don't ever remember not being in the woods with my father. And to an age where I can remember the first time I heard a deer blow was with my father, and I was really, really tiny. We're walking through this piece of woods trying to get to a tree stand, and we hear this blow, and it's just, I bet I was 6 or something like that at the time. And obviously when you're out hunting and stuff, you see things that you don't like. Mm-hmm. And I saw a couple things that I didn't like growing up, and I'm like, this kind of stinks when stuff like this happens to you.
Yeah.
And we also had family friends that were state troopers out in where I grew up, and forest rangers and things like that. So it's just always around all the aspects. And then I got to an age where I'm trying to put together my life of what I'm going to do in my life. And I said, it's pretty obvious if I can do this. It kind of melds in all the things that I love doing.
Yeah.
Yep. So here I am.
So, given that, and given your position as a CO, how much time do you actually get to hunt and fish?
That is the kind of stinky part of the job. So before I had this job, I hunted a lot. I still hunt. I would still say I probably hunt more than your average bear, but way less than I used to. Yep. So there's still available time to do it. But I just recently got married, just recently had a son, so now it's kind of getting a little less and a little less, but that's fine. But I would say your busy time of the year is the time of the year when everything's happening that you want to be out in the woods for. So yeah.
So as you go along and you're with the department longer, do you get choice of when you can take the time off, or is it?
It's pretty rare that we're taking time off during hunting season.
Right.
If it's hunting season, unless there's some circumstance like family emergency or something, it's pretty rare that we're taking time off.
So just you have your regular days. That's when you do it.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk to the legislature about giving you guys your own hunting season.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Wouldn't that be great?
That'd be amazing.
Like early or late? Or something like that.
We'd even take late.
Yeah, late season's just as good. So that would be awesome. Diane, get on it. All right. So deer and bear season is coming up.
Yep.
So let's talk about what are some of the responsibilities that you have that may change when hunting season rears its ugly head, if you will.
So it's always kind of works out well that when one thing kind of is petering out, one thing's getting going. So like right now, we're kind of getting to the end of those wildlife calls that we get, or like because most of those are related to probably young of the year and things, and now all those young of the year things like baby foxes and baby skunks, all that stuff's going on their own, and they're not being having to transport to a rehab or anything like that. And then once all that kind of peters out, and then it hasn't been the case, but the hope is that by the time school starts, the search and rescue stuff is starting to slow down, and then, which again hasn't been the case as of late, but yeah, then September 1st starts, and we get right into bear hunting, and we register every bear that's harvested in the state of New Hampshire. Game wardens putting their hands on it. And we pull a tooth, we put a tag in it, and then at that point, then the hunter can do what it wants with it, take it to a taxidermist, take it to the butcher, whatever, and then September 15th, we're right into bow season. So, yeah, it's always pretty fast succession into the next thing.
It goes into each other. Like we hunt, or I call it hunting. We scout year round. We're always in the woods. We're always looking for that big buck. So I know what it's like. There's not spring, summer, and fall. It's hunting season, shed season. It's scouting season. It's camera. It's just on and on. So I kind of get what you're coming with that. So what are the most common mistakes that you're going to see with hunters that are going to give them a violation?
I would say the most common thing that we're dealing with as a department, I'd be shocked if it wasn't number one, is the baiting stuff. It's legal to do in New Hampshire for most things you're going to hunt, like deer, it's legal. Bear, it's legal. But on the flip side, there's a lot of laws surrounding it that you have to follow in order to do it legally. So like right now, before bear season, you can't be putting out feed, anything ingestible for bear. September 1st comes, then you can start baiting bear. But there's permits that you got to get. You got to have landowner permission. And I think that's probably the biggest thing too, is that people are just putting bait out without any permission. And so then a landowner finds it. They get irate that there's somebody there doing that. So I would say that. And what I always tell guys and gals that we end up having that awkward conversation in the woods because there's a violation, and this baiting violation is that by putting down corn, like let's say you're going to buy a 50-pound bag of corn and put it out in the woods, and you haven't looked at the laws, a lot of times it's not just a simple baiting violation, because you need a placard, that's a violation. You need the permit submitted to the department, that's a violation. The permit needs to be in the hand of the CO, that's a violation. So by just the simple 5-second thing of dumping a bag of corn out, it can blow on a proportion pretty quickly. I can see that. And you'll see it. We find stuff like that all the time in the woods. I know Eric Brown, he's come out for one. I know Jim's working on one right now. So just stuff that we find while we're out. And it's almost like they're stealing from you. And that's how I feel. 100%. So what's the best way for a hunter and fisherman to be up to date with the rules and in the regulations, or maybe possible changes that they may have through the season? So we give out, it's like a magazine-style Hunter Digest, but we got one right here. Is that the new one?
That's a brand new
one.
one.
Nice. I didn't even know they were out yet.
So,
So, and at the very beginning of that book, if you're an avid hunter that's been doing it for years and years, it's usually like page 3, and it says, what's new? And if you're a new hunter, I would take some time going through that digest, getting to know it. It can be very overwhelming if you're brand new to it and you don't have kind of somebody guiding you through it. And what I tell in my hunter ed classes is that if you want to do deer hunting, focus on the deer hunting. I want to read the whole like migratory bird and small game, because you're going to get overwhelmed pretty quickly. But if you want to be, you're going to do deer hunting, you focus on the deer hunting. Okay, this is what I got to do to be legal in deer hunting, and this is where I'm going to go with it.
Especially if you're down in the southern part of the state and you shoot a doe in the wrong section.
Yep.
That can be an issue.
Yep.
I've heard of people doing that
Yep.
before. So being a CEO, you're not just tasked with enforcing the law. You're a public relations person. So how important is that relationship between you and the hunters and the outdoorsmen in your position as a CO?
Oh, it's pivotal. It's so important. What I, again, always say to my hunter ed classes and people out and about is that I don't keep it a secret. I'm being paid by hunters and fishermen. Mm-hmm. So New Hampshire Fish and Game Department isn't receiving like general fund like state trooper would.
Right.
We're getting our money to operate through hunting licenses, fishing licenses, OHRV registrations, boat registrations, things like that is how we operate. So I want to do the work for the person that's paying my paycheck at the end of the day, and I am only one person. Our department is pretty sparse as far as how many conservation officers are out in the field in a given day. So without the relationships that we make with our local hunters, fishermen, clubs, things like that, we're useless. Maybe not useless, but far more useless than we should be. We need to be that face, be the name, that phone call that people can get a hold of, people can rely on, that if something's going on. And the other thing, talking about violations, always what I try to get across to people is that if you hunt and fish long enough, you're going to make a mistake. It's inevitable.
Everybody does.
Everybody's going to make a mistake. And I think, like we'll use baiting for example, somebody that's new to hunting, and it happens a lot, somebody puts corn out and they're saying, I'm just putting corn out, I'm not going to hunt, but I'm just seeing what's in the area. That's one we get a lot. And sometimes I believe them, sometimes maybe not. But if that's the situation, we can have a conversation about that, and that's a lot different than somebody in the back that's hiding it. It's obviously well hidden. They're trying to be sneaky about it, and now you know this is what I would classify as a poacher. You know. Okay. So how much discretion do you have when somebody does do something, in like you were saying, if they seem like that it was like just a big mistake? How much discretion do you have in the type of violation they get as an officer? We have a lot of discretion on what we do and how we address the violations, and ultimately I hope law enforcement as a whole lives by this. Is the point of us being here is voluntary compliance with the law by the least means necessary. So if we come across somebody that made an honest mistake and you say, give them a digest and say, this is what we need to do next time, but you're going to obviously, I'll document it with either a warning or whatever I'm going to do with it. So then if it becomes a repeat thing, then we can take it down the road there. But no, definitely. Yeah.
So one of the things I'm always happy about is I hear from a lot of guys, I can't hunt anywhere anymore. Everything's posted. Well, Fish and Game does a fabulous, fantastic job of providing big tracts of land for people to hunt on. Not only that, but you guys work with a lot of landowners to get stuff open.
Yep.
How does a CO help in that kind of role as far as keeping these pieces of land open?
Yeah, so me personally, we have a lands program, and we can buy property, and there's a couple, when I was in Sullivan County, there's a couple bodies of water that will go unnamed at this point, but we have no access to them. Yeah. And I always was waiting for a piece of property to come open so we could put a little ramp in or something like that. Never came to fruition, but that's the type of stuff that hopefully your local CO is doing. But again, we have this land share program, and we try to give like signage, like safety zone signs. I'm sure a lot of hunters have seen those signs. And a lot of times those are people that are in our land share program where they're going to say, okay, we're going to keep hunters out of this 2 acres around my house, but I own 100 acres, and we as a department try to create these relationships and these tools for these landowners to feel like they're not being encroached by these hunters and all these acres that are oftentimes prime hunting areas.
I think that's how we met you.
Is that? Okay.
Because you got us some safety signs. We had the property up on the end of Micah Mine Road, which had 50 acres in the back.
Yeah.
But we didn't want the people who were hunting pheasants in the front of the house
You're
shooting.
right, yeah.
So
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. So that now in New Hampshire we do have the common land law, which means, I believe, if the property is not posted, you can hunt on it. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep. And being in New Hampshire, we're really lucky because that exists, and there's not a whole lot of states left that's the case. Most states, if you go on somebody else's property, whether posted or not, you're trespassing. So we're really lucky with that, and that's what I always tell, again, going back to my hunter eds, trying to teach these people that haven't hunted before how to do it and make it last another 100 years, is people that are buying land a lot of times now are not necessarily born and raised in New Hampshire, and there's nothing bad or good about it, but a lot of times we run into this where they're from some other state and this is brand new to them.
Yep.
And some people find it scary to have hunters in the back, and as my job, I try to make it not a scary thing, because it's not a scary thing. We've been doing it since the beginning of time, right? And it shouldn't be scary.
Yep.
And 99.9% of the hunters in the state of New Hampshire are very good at handling their firearms and safe with their firearms, and it's that 0.1% that we're dealing with, and I think I have those conversations with people and it makes them feel a lot better, and that ultimately hopefully prevents those posted signs going up on the property. But yes, going back to, if it's not posted, you can hunt it. And I always preface that by saying, but it doesn't hurt to knock on the door to let them know, hey, I'm going to be hunting around here and things like that.
And the landowner does have the right, if he doesn't want you there, to ask you to leave.
That is correct.
And you got to leave right off the bat, because it can lead to extra charges on you if you do not.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And I get that call every fall, is that hunter knows the common land aspect of New Hampshire, but then a homeowner says, I don't want you to be here, and then they refuse to leave. Now you're getting into criminal trespass and things like that can change your life forever. With
the 1972 Fish and Game Rule Book says that if you do not leave when you are asked, then you can be charged $50.
$50, yeah. So it's a little heftier than that now.
The 1972 Rule Book is pretty neat, because a lot of the rules that are in it are still written from the 40s, so they're worded really kind of funny.
That's
but
cool.
It's a pretty interesting book. So
would that be one of the little tiny square ones?
The little square ones, the little yellow one that a friend of mine, actually Richard Bittner's son, Richard.
Okay.
He sent me the book the other day to look at it.
That's cool.
So he thought that was pretty neat. He'd found it at a yard sale, and he thought it was kind of cool. His dad's name was in it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty neat.
That is cool.
So can you give any advice to hunters and fishermen how to prepare for the upcoming season? I know that Colonel Jordan has a list of things you should take with you if you're going out. Can you elaborate on being prepared to go in the woods, whether you're going out tracking a big buck or you're bear hunting or whatever? Is there certain things that you should bring with you?
In today's day and age, I feel like what gets people into trouble for the search and rescue aspect of needing to be found is people are so reliant on their cell phone now. And they're using it as a light, they're using it as a GPS, they're using it as a communication device, and I can't tell you how many times I've been on the phone and they're lost, they don't know where they are, and their phone is at 1%. And that makes it useless. You can't use it for anything. But again, this is just my experience. Hunters aren't usually those people that are doing that, and I find hunters are usually pretty well prepared because they have a GPS a lot of times, and they're marking where they are.
Good old compass.
Yeah, they have a compass. They have lights. They're prepared for hopefully fill in a tag, so they're preparing to be out during the night to get this deer or bear out. And if you know the area, you probably necessarily don't need it, but maps if you're going into new areas and things like that. And just change of clothes, especially if the rain's in the forecast, because as we all know, if we've been hunting a while, is you got a plan, and it never goes as you plan. You see something you want to follow, you actually get a deer, something like that, and you got to just always be prepared for the side road.
Absolutely. And remember, wool keeps you warm, cotton kills.
Yes, that is very true.
Yeah, so I would think that kind of problem would be more of new hunters that weren't experienced or hadn't done it for a few years, maybe. That would be more along the lines of
I would agree with that. Or they're just trying it out and they haven't invested a lot of time or money into it, because hunting can get pretty expensive by the time you get a gun and all your gear and stuff like that. So a lot of times you're trying to do it bare bones, and those are the type of things that I would say don't skimp on, is the stuff that's going to get you out of the woods safe at the end of the day.
I always say a good wool coat and a very good pair of shoes.
Yes, shoes for sure.
It's your two main weapons. Your gun is what it is, but if you're cold and wet,
you're not going to have any fun.
No, and you're not concentrating, and then you can get lost pretty easily.
Exactly.
Are there any specific topics that you'd like to go to, if there's anything that's been on your mind?
No, it's just my biggest thing is always, I feel like I'm always preaching, but I guess I'll take this time to do some preaching, is
Amen, brother.
I've already said it, but I work for the hunters and the fishermen that are going out there and doing it right, and I am not naive to the fact, because it would happen to me before I was a warden, that you see things that should upset you, will upset you, and I am that outlet to tell that stuff to. And we have the Operation Game Thief, where you can call anonymously, make a report, and then not be involved in it. Give us that little breadcrumb to start. It might not result in a case today or tomorrow. It might result in a case 2 years from now, but those breadcrumbs that you give us can oftentimes help you out, because there's a lot of people out there that are investing a lot of time trying to get the big buck or just a deer. And these people that are cheating, I think is the only way to really put it well, is they're stealing, cheating, however you want to put it. We want to know about that. We want to deal with those people, because I did not become a game warden to give tickets to people that made honest mistakes. I became a game warden to get people that are trying to pull a fast one on everybody else. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm getting paid. So put me to work is what I always say.
And you guys, these natural resources, these whitetails, the moose, the bears, all the stuff that we hunt, they belong to you guys. They belong to the state of New Hampshire and the residents within. And when somebody goes outside of the law and they take it, it's just like they walked in your house and they took something off your counter, or they went in your fridge and ate all your food. It's the same idea. They stole it. So like you said, you call Project Game Thief and take care of the problem. Kevin here will take care of the problem. That's what he does. So that's what I got to say about that. Just
well put.
Yeah. Hey, that's how I look at it. I mean, we invest a lot of time in the bucks that we're after. We get to know them almost on a personal basis. And when somebody drives around at night and shoots one, or they shoot it before the season starts, you almost feel like you've lost a friend, I guess you could say, or it feels like all that time you've had invested was just for nothing.
Yeah.
So you get pretty angry about it, and obviously, if this was the 1840s, there'd be other ways of handling it, but nowadays, we call a CO.
Yep.
So that's how we end up doing it.
Yep.
So how has Northwood Law changed anything with you? I mean, it's a popular show.
Yeah.
It's obviously a big hit, and now you're a big star, and I feel very honored to be able to sit here with you.
Yeah.
So how's that changed, and what is it like to do that with having a camera following you around all the time?
It's been a ride, that's for sure. It's gone way further than I thought it would. When I originally got asked to be part of it, I actually said no at the beginning, and because again, I didn't become a game warden to have a camera in my face and follow me around. But with some persuading from then would have been Major Wimsat, I did it, and it's been great, especially for the department, because we're reaching so many people that we would have never reached. Like, there's people that weren't going to be coming to Wild New Hampshire Day or going to a hunter ed class or going to a OHRV class, so they were just had no idea what a game warden was or what a game warden did in New Hampshire. And now people, not even in the United States, know what a game warden's doing in the state of New Hampshire. So it's been great. It's been a great tool to get our mission statement out there. And I was just a local game warden, so I always use the example when I'd go to the Flying Goose with my wife before the show, the local hunters and fishermen I talk to, and you know, but now we go to the Flying Goose now, and it's like everybody knows who I am. Yeah, and it took a while before when I was out in uniform, I wouldn't get recognized that much, but now we'll go all over, and I'm getting recognized everywhere. So it's been very interesting.
So what comes after being a warden? I mean, Hollywood? Or?
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah, probably a stunt double.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, you're going to stay with the department for a long time, I hope.
Oh yeah. I don't plan on going anywhere. I've got probably another 20 years before I can retire, so I'll be around for a while.
Yep.
Much to people's probably dismay.
Yeah. Don't ever lie to this guy. That's your pet peeve?
It is definitely my pet peeve. Yeah. And are you saying that because of the show, or?
Well, a little because of the show, but a little because, well, one, you're an officer and you don't want to lie to one because it's bad, but you just seem like you want people to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And that will help. It's going to help them in the long run, I would imagine.
It definitely does. Yeah, and I can deal with a lot of stuff. Of what people are going to say, what people are going to do, and oftentimes people just get nervous and they'll lie, and I can understand that. What is my pet peeve is the lies just keep going and going and going and going, and then I have that conversation with them like, hey, this is what we got, this is the situation, I just want you to be honest with me, and then we still keep going down that road when it's obvious that it's lies. Though that's when I get hot, usually. Yeah.
You don't want people lying to you.
No.
I mean, that's just, I guess that's human nature, is to not like it.
Yeah,
but
it's true.
I can see where people would get scared, too, and do that, but
it is scary.
Just be honest.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, just be honest about stuff. You know, oh yeah, you caught me, I got one trout over.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, I recall a situation that happened a couple years back now, where a friend of mine accidentally shot 2 turkeys.
Okay.
And I was running the camera, and I never saw the turkey.
Yeah.
And he never saw the turkey, but it hit the turkey behind it somehow, and we never knew there was another turkey there.
Yeah.
So we had, I'm trying to remember what warden it was, John Dakey?
Tom Dakey?
Tom, there we go.
Yeah,
he came
was
up,
my sergeant.
and he was covering. He wasn't even from the area we were in.
Yep.
And he came up, and when it happened, automatically, as soon as it happened and we saw the other bird, bam, we're on the phone.
Yep.
And we called, and we waited, and he came, and he asked how it happened, and I told him how it happened. The other guy told him, I'm not mentioning his name, how it happened, and he was really, he goes, I'm a turkey hunter. I understand.
Yep.
And because you called the moment it happened. We called and left tried to call right at like 6 o'clock when it happened.
Yeah, nobody answered.
Had to wait until 8, and then we waited, and he says, you guys are honest and with me. He says, so don't ever do it again, because if it happens again, but
Right.
it really was an eye-opening experience, because we were both like expecting the worst to happen.
Yep.
Because we were honest. It's understandable and forgiven at that point. Just don't do it again. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that was one of my real first experiences in that capacity with a CO, game warden. You say game warden, and as conservation officer.
Yeah.
But you're going old school.
I go old school on it. Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, which leads me to my question: what do most of the guys prefer, game warden or CO?
That's a good question. I always have felt like I'm an old soul, and I love listening to the old guy stories, like the Jesse Scott stories, and talking to his daughter about stories when she was, when Jessie was doing all this stuff, when she was just a little girl. And I kind of go back to that and try to emulate what we were then. And we weren't wearing a lot of hats. We were, in the community. And I'm not saying we're not like that now, but they did a really good job back then of doing that. And that's what I try to emulate. And back then, everybody was a game warden. And I think that's probably why I still call myself a game warden.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and when people see you, and they know, this is another question. It's like I was in the Guard, so when you talk to somebody in uniform, you address them as Sergeant Kevin Bronson.
Yep.
Or Sergeant Bronson.
Yep.
You don't ever. How is it? You rather have people address you as Sergeant Bronson or Kevin, or how does that work? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. I don't care. Yeah. And Kevin, Mr. Bronson, Officer Bronson, Sergeant, whatever.
Because there's Miss Heidi over here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. She might be different. She might want to be called Sergeant, but I've always been. I don't care how I'm addressed as long as it's not any.
There, now everybody who wanted to know that question knows it.
Yeah.
Because I've always wanted to know, because military background, sergeant. That's how it is. But it probably helps too with that when you're dealing with people. And having that one-on-one with someone, it's probably more apt to give you more of an honest answer, maybe?
Maybe. And again, it's probably goes back to my background, is that I have no military experience at all. And probably, we hire guys and gals, well, all guys that have military background, and they might give you a different answer, but but I consider myself, I just see myself when I look in the mirror in uniform, I see myself as a hunter in disguise.
I love it.
So it's like, I don't see myself as Sergeant Bronson, I see myself as that.
So we got a little time here, so let's get off maybe the law enforcement aspect, and let's talk a little hunting here between two hunters.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
So I grew up just outside of the Adirondack Park in New York, so Black River Valley.
Big woods country.
Yeah. Tug Hill Plateau is where I grew up, and if anybody knows Tug Hill, it's like Snowmobile Central, and again, like you said, giant woods.
Yeah.
It's like Pittsburgh on steroids.
Yeah. 1 deer per square mile.
Yeah. It's hard hunting. Yeah. But then again, you go down to the Black River Valley, and there's deer everywhere.
Yep.
But then if you go up on Tug Hill, the bucks get big, but they're hard to find.
But we hunt big woods, and there's not a lot of deer, but the ones that are there are worth tracking and worth finding.
They're worth the effort.
Other than deer hunting, is there any other type of hunting that you're really into that you like to do?
Much to my wife's dismay, it's pretty much everything. I started out deer hunting, then I got my dad into turkey hunting, and so then we started doing turkey hunting, but I feel like I'm going to be that last generation where I remember when turkeys weren't all over the place. I remember when I was a little kid, and it's like, and we'd see like, oh my gosh, there's a bunch of turkeys. And then by the time I got to hunting age, there was a lot of turkeys around. So, and it happened, I feel like it happened pretty quick where we went from 0 to 60. So we got into turkey hunting, and then Sergeant Akey, who you were talking about before, and Officer Jellison, who covers up north when I used to work in District 3, they got me into duck hunting.
Yep.
So I love duck hunting, and it's all just totally different, you know.
Yep.
Like duck hunting is totally different than deer hunting.
Yep.
And I'm a pretty avid bear hunter now. I always try to get one, and then I actually have 2 bird dogs now.
Oh.
Yeah. So I literally, there's not much that I
So
don't.
that like totally blows away a lot of the guys out there, and I'm telling you from personal experience, a lot of the guys think a lot of the game wardens are just guys who were police officers who wanted to do something different, and they don't hunt and fish. They don't understand that some of you guys are just as passionate about this sport as we are.
Yeah. No.
And I think that's a big help in understanding everybody.
Yeah. No. And I feel like it's helped me out is because I take a lot of this stuff as I'm not protecting a resource that for somebody else. I'm protecting it for myself too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a personal mission as well as the people around me. So yeah.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So right now, you're basically my neighbor.
Yeah.
Because you just live over the hill here.
Yep.
Do you have any places here that you've been hunting that you like? I mean, you don't have to.
Oh yeah, no, I got a couple honey holes.
Yeah, I was going to say you must have some pretty good spots.
Yeah,
there.
no, there's. I'm again super lucky since I turned 16. I didn't get a deer when I was 16, and then I've gotten a deer every year since until last year. Last year I didn't get a deer. So and I'm 32 now. So I consider myself pretty lucky. But again, it goes back to the original question that you're asking me. It was pretty easy for me to find deer and get on a deer, and then I became a game warden, and I was like sweating in between days off. I'm like, I got to figure out what's going on.
Gotta go fast.
Scouting is way more important now for me. Like I'm trying to get out in the woods, figure out what's going on. But yeah, so it's again been lucky, but there's a lot of years now that I get to the end of the year and I'm like, oh boy, I might not fill a tag this year.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, it's busy.
Yeah.
And the more people that are moving into the state, the more people who are in the woods that you're having to deal with.
Yep.
It just keeps getting busier and busier.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping at some point that it slows down.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a lot of land. We got a lot of public land that people can hunt on. But at some point, it's going to get crowded. It's going to be like seeing Minnesota or something on opening day. So, so if you're out there, get out there and enjoy it while we're in the golden age of it.
Yeah.
I would say. Have you been in the Ruger North or the Ruger South section?
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
I love it.
That was a great land acquisition by the department. I'm so happy they got that because I think it's over 3,000 acres.
It's big.
Yeah, it's huge, and there are some quality deer in there. I know a couple of people that shot really big bucks while I was still in the area. Ton of grouse in there. You know, take moose in there. Ducks. So there's ponds everywhere. You know, it's just wicked quality. Wicked quality.
We've spent a lot of time in the Ruger North section.
Yeah.
Before it was Ruger North, back when it was just open property.
Right.
And it's definitely a spot that people want to check out.
Yeah.
If you're just going out and you just want to see wildlife or just want to see some neat stuff, it's just a neat place to go.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's so great that the department's purchased that, and it's going to be in perpetuity to be able to do that. It's like what we were talking about with making sure there's tracts of land for hunters and fishermen and bird watchers or whatever to go and enjoy. So that it's a really neat spot. The Ruger South section I haven't done a lot in.
Yeah, that's beautiful too. It's awesome. Yeah.
It's big. That's another really big piece.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get to. Well, there's one really good access, but the other side of it's hard to get to.
Yeah, it's been so long. Is it Cornish Turnpike?
Yep, it's off the Cornish Turnpike.
That's the best access. And then you got to walk quite a ways until it actually opens up to what we own. And but then once it does open up, you got basically the world is your oyster. You can go everywhere and anywhere.
You can spend a whole day out there and never see a quarter of it.
Easily, yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah. And have you guys had a lot of calls about boar out there, about wild pigs, or is that
That has died down considerably. When I first started over here, which would have been 2014, I think, there were pigs everywhere, it seemed like. And I was getting a ton of calls about pigs tearing up the yard and stuff, but that has come to a dull trickle now.
Good.
So yeah, they've done a very good job of reeling that in. Yep.
A lot of guys were always excited about that. I've never been too excited about it because they push the game animals out. They're nasty little buggers.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah. They can get pretty unhappy pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't like sharing their acorns with the deer. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't care for them. I wish they'd just go back in the fence and stay there forever. All right, that's all we got going on. That's all I've got to say. So, if you want to see Kevin, you're going to see him on Northwoods Law. You might see him out there cruising around in the truck, asking for your fishing license when you caught a trout or two. He may even stop you in the woods to see if you've got your deer yet. So, if you do, say hi to him, give him your license. He's a good guy. So, look at him. He's a happy guy, and he loves hunting just as much as you guys. So, thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.